بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد: قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى. وقال تعالى: قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون. In both of these places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word falah. قد أفلح. أفلح. This is very different. This is very different to fawz, which means just to win, just to be successful. Falah is a very specific term to mean a winning like no other winning, success like no other success. How do you define success, by the way? If you think in your mind what is success, it'll be interesting the notions that we will all come up with in terms of what it means for us to be successful. Successful for all of us from a dunyawi perspective, from a worldly perspective, is going to be very, very subjective. Success means that I have a nice house. For some people, that's all they want. A nice house, decent car to drive, a good family, obedient children, successful children. What do you mean by your children being successful? If that means success for you, success of your children is success for you, what do you mean by success of your children? Oh, I want them to be a medical doctor. I want them to have a bigger house than I've ever had. I couldn't have it, but I want my children to have it. But is that what they will consider success? What is success? Success is highly subjective. For some people, success is that as long as I get the basic food to fill my stomach and keep me going and I can worship Allah, that's what matters. So my understanding at least is that any notion of success that is to do with this world only is going to be short-lived, highly subjective, and not very satisfying. And the reason is that any success in the world, if you think, just everybody think in their mind, one aspect or one accomplishment that you will consider success in this world, everybody take one in their mind. Success may be that you have an alim degree. Success may be that you have a PhD. Success might be that you get your own business. Success may be that you've written a book. Success may be that you start maybe teaching Sahih al-Bukhari tomorrow. What is success in your mind? Success may mean that, for some people, maybe that I'll get married to her. I've been waiting for, or him. I've been, for women, it'll be the opposite. So, I have to clarify that. So, what is success for you? If you take that notion of success in your mind, of that particular aspect of success that you have just brought up in your mind, I want everybody to do this. You will realize that that is not the end all of all things. Let's just take one example. You want to write a book. Believe me, the first time you write a book, the euphoria that it gives you, the feeling of accomplishment that it gives you, it's amazing. It's difficult, it's laborious, years and years of labor. When you see that book in print, Allahu Akbar. And then you see people benefit, Allahu Akbar. Now I'm connecting it to the hereafter. As soon as I connect it to the hereafter, suddenly the success becomes elongated. The success becomes lengthened. If it's just a book, believe me, the majority of books outside that are written, and there are literally hundreds of thousands of books written every week, and even published, but most of them don't make any money whatsoever. They don't even break even. Most of these big publishers, they only break even on certain bestsellers by big celebrities. That's how they continue their business. The rest get sent to these remainder shops where you get them on 20%, 30% and online and elsewhere. So what is success? Anything you think about in this world, you attain it, that was success for you, you will get bored with it. It will wear out. It's the nature of the world. لِأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا إِلَى زَوَالٍ The dunya, this dunya ends, thus everything inside it ends. So any success of this world will be short-lived. You'll enjoy it for a day, few hours sometimes, maybe a few days, maybe a few months if you're lucky. But eventually it will wear off. Whereas the falah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about is the falah of the hereafter. And that falah, the way it's defined, is a success after which there is no failure, right? A win after which there's no failure, a happiness after which there's no sadness, and a closeness to Allah after which there's no distance. So think about anything in this world that you take, unless you link it to the hereafter, it will be temporary, right? Whether that be your new iPhone or new Samsung or whatever it is, and you, mashallah, you got your new phone, it was a desire, and since you were 16 years old, I'll start working, I'll buy my own phone because my father's not going to get it for me, and now you've got it. Eventually, it will start getting worn out, and that's what you'll see. But as soon as you link it to the hereafter, and you've got the hereafter included in that concept of whatever you're endeavoring for, suddenly you see the benefits of it in this world, but you continue to reap the benefits into the hereafter. And then it contributes to the success of the hereafter. So this book, as an example, you write a book on anything, right? But you write a book and people use it, it's storing for you. So everything has to be linked to the hereafter. The ultimate success is when you've got the akhirah in mind. You're studying. Are you studying just for yourself? Are you attending lectures just for yourself? What are you trying to do with it? Just try to find a way to link it to the hereafter, which means at the absolute basis and fundamental aspect of it, you need to have the good intention. Ikhlas. Because without that, it doesn't go anywhere whatsoever. Your success has to begin with ikhlas. And once you start having ikhlas, then you have to keep it aright and try to find things and motivations for which this is true success, including our studies and including everything that we do. So Ibn Ata'illah, he says here, rahimahumullah, النور جند القلب كما أن الظلمة جند النفس فإذا أراد الله أن ينصر عبده أمده بجنود الأنوار وقطع عنه مدد الظلم والأغيار. He says light is the army of the heart, just as darkness is the army of the soul. And he's making a distinction between the heart and the soul. And the reason is that the good heart is generally called a spiritual heart, from where good things come. Some have referred to it as the ruh. The nafs plays on many different levels. It can be very good or it could become very bad. So this is talking about the bad one, the lowly soul. When Allah wishes to come to the help of His servant, this is the switch that takes place inside, right? You know, for example, when you get an upgrade in an account or something, let's just say you've got normal DSL line and you want to move on to fiber. What they have to do is they have to go and connect the fiber wire, right, in the junction or whatever. Then suddenly, instead of 7, 8, 9, 10 megabytes per second, you start getting 35, 36 or more, because the bandwidth has to be extended and then a supply is provided. So likewise here, when Allah wishes to come to the help of His servant, He furnishes him with armies of lights and cuts off from him the reinforcement of darkness and alterations. He protects him from the fitna outside. So no longer does the fitna, your surrounding will become more conducive to you, conducive to your faith. And that should be a dua we make. Oh Allah, make my surrounding conducive to my progress in your sight, towards you. Because one of the biggest challenges we have is what surrounds us. The challenges may be from our family, maybe from neighbors, maybe from the society, maybe from the workplace. The muwaffaq one is who gets, in all of these things, Allah just makes it right for them. Right work environment, right family environment, or allows them to actually deal and surmount the challenges that some of these problems some of these problems that are caused by these things, provide for them. Now, this is getting a bit, this particular aphorism is a bit complicated. It's very deeply spiritual, using some of these terms of light and darkness, so this does need to be explained. So he's saying here that in the terminology of the Sufis, the propensity or capacity in man, his ability to incline towards evil, is termed the nafs, the soul. It stirs man to adopt disgraceful qualities, makes you want these things. The heart, qalb, is the substratum of the praiseworthy attributes of man. I know he's used a big word here, but the heart is basically where the praiseworthy aspects are inclined towards. The soul of man is so self-absorbed in self-esteem, vanity, ignorance and base emotion that it remains oblivious to these evils itself. It's so indulgent in it, it can't see that it's wrong. It's just so into it. And that happens a lot in the world. When you're really into it, you don't see the problem. When you walk out and you see something different and then you look back at this, it's, man, subhanAllah, I was like, this is what I used to do. Otherwise it's normal. I'll give you an example. Sometimes people with their friends and at school or other places, they learn to speak in this really awkward manner. This, I mean, how else do you describe it? This very rough manner. They don't mean bad, but because they're used to sneering and tutting and all the rest of it. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. They come home and they start talking to their parents like that. They don't think it's wrong. Their uncle comes in, they've got guests and they see they see, you know, the person speaking like that. The parents are like, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. How can you speak like that to your parents? He doesn't even think it's wrong, because that's how he's been talking outside. He only comes home for dinner, right? Do you see what I'm saying? And somebody has to sit and explain to him that, look, watch yourself. Take a video of yourself, watch yourself. Look, what are you doing? Does that sound right? Because you're so into it, you're so engrossed, you don't know. So likewise, this is the same kind of thing that happens with evils. So it becomes so absorbed in self-esteem, vanity, ignorance and base emotions that it remains oblivious to these evils itself. Its engrossment in these evils preclude it from perceiving them. Its natural inclination then becomes evil and corruption. However, in the heart of the believer, you'll always have a switch. You'll always have a source of light because you have Iman. It's like this little candle still burning in there, right? Even for the worst believer, there's still a candle that's burning in there. Just about keeping alive. There is the light of Allah's oneness, the tawheed, the kalima. Can you imagine how powerful that must be, right? That after all of these sins, it still stays alive. And this has been bestowed by Allah. It drives a person towards the attributes of worship and obedience. So even if a person is bad, there are going to be times when something inside him is going to make him reflect and say, no, I shouldn't be doing this. The meaning of darkness is the attribute of the soul, and the light refers to the illumination of the heart. Darkness is the army of the soul, while the light is the army of the heart. The conflict between these opposites is going to be always perpetual. It's always going to be there in this world. The soul with its army attacks the heart, prevents it from acting according to the demands of virtue. Meanwhile, the heart endeavors to conquer the soul by means of its army. These are the two voices we are hearing inside us. Should I do this? Shouldn't I do it? I shouldn't do it. Just once more. You know, this is the fight. This is what's happening inside us. Sometimes the soul gains the upper hand, leading to the servant committing sin and abstention from obedience. On other occasion, the light of the heart asserts its domination, overwhelming the soul. I've just been in Jamaat, brothers, right? I've just been to Hajj. I've just come back from Umrah. So, mashallah, my army is strong right now. It's well equipped. And you must feel that way, you know, subhanallah. If Allah Most High has decreed success for the servant, He aids him with an army of light in his struggle against the soul. Here Allah Most High reveals to him the contemptibility of this world. You will start seeing that this dunya that everybody's hankering over, I need it, but it's not my objective. I don't feel bad if I don't have it. I don't feel bad that, you know, I would rather make my salat than and miss this, you know, appointment or whatever it is. or miss that extra sale in a business, for example, or whatever the case may be. Or for people who like watching soap operas, they're very addictive. You must keep up with the story. A lot of people do this, especially, women probably more than men. Men have their own soap operas. What was that one, that car one? Top Gear. That's a men's soap opera. It's geared to the men. It's the same thing, right? It's a bit different, but it's checking out cars. We're learning about cars as though you're ever going to drive those cars, right? But for women, it's these other ones, what they call EastEnders, right? And all of these there's so many. Casualty, and all that. They must watch it every week, right? So this is what it is. You'll eventually say, man, I can come out of this. It's just like WhatsApp messages. They have the same addiction. And once you freed yourself from that, I don't need to keep up with every single message on this group, because if I look through it, most of it is not very useful for me anyway. So then you've just freed yourself. You've just understood that this is a distraction. It's about getting that distraction, understanding that distraction. So if Allah Most High has decreed success for the servant, He aids him with an army of light in his struggle against the soul. Here Allah Most High reveals to him the contemptibility of this world and its transitory nature. The evil of the soul are exposed for him, and darkness and all alien objects are dispelled from the heart. These foreign bodies has taken up an abode in the heart and were being supported by the soul are then deprived of their aid when the light becomes dominant. Gradually the goal is attained of the dominance of the heart and the light. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Right? If misfortune is decreed for the servant though, which is the opposite, may Allah protect us, the darkness gains an intensity and it just gets darker and darker and darker. And the worst thing is, though you know you're wrong, you can't get out of it. One is you don't know. The other one is you know and you can't get out of it. It's even, that's another turmoil on its own that bothers you. The one person, he's only going to find out afterwards. But another person, hopefully, if he at least knows, then one day he will come to some sense, because that guilt is very, very beneficial. Anyway, the intensity is an incremental process resulting in the complete disappearance of the heart's light. That's how some people end up losing their faith. But alhamdulillah, just from experience, dealing with so many different people, Iman is strong. Even if they've messed up to a huge degree. I dealt with this woman once who had a problem in her previous life. She was forced into a marriage with somebody she didn't like, calling that Islam. It was called Islam. So eventually she got out of it, was disowned by the family, so she goes and marries a non-Muslim. She didn't care about Islam. If this is Islam, I don't care about it. But subhanAllah, many, many years later, she's coming and saying, I want to reconnect. That little flame was still there. I say, Iman is very, very powerful. It's very, very. We see so many people who've been through the maktab system, which has, mashallah, established the Iman in their heart, and they get 14, 15, 16, unfortunately they've gone wrong, right? Our boys and girls we see outside, and then, they do eventually come back. Most do come back. We lose some, but most do come back because Iman is very, very valuable. So anyway, for this person, the one who, the complete disappearance of the heart's light, the world then dominates the person. When a struggle ensues between the soul and the heart, the traveler should turn his attention to Allah Most High, supplicating for His aid. This is the answer. Oh Allah, give me tawfiq. Oh Allah, give me your love and the love of those who love you. Give me good friends. Oh Allah, give me good surrounding. Remove the obstacles. Very specific du'as to that effect. So he should turn his attention to Allah, supplicating for His aid. He should increase his invocation and keep his trust in Allah. The demands of the soul will be subjugated and eventually the heart's light will prevail, Allah willing. The main thing is that Allah gives us some time, gives us some free time, not free time, but He gives us some excuse until we're 40. By that time, if the good doesn't dominate the evil, it says that shaitan comes and says, this face is destined for hellfire. Subhanallah, right? And he's not going to be successful because by the age of 40, you still haven't done it. And then it says that somebody who's reached 60, فَلَا عُذْرَ لَكَ, you have no excuse. Like 60. But let's not wait until then, because life goes in the direction we take it, and it just goes in that direction. It's very difficult to take a U-turn afterwards. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the true falah of the akhirah, which is, inshaAllah, by everything we do, have a component in it that relates to the hereafter. That's an add-on, right? There must be an add-on that we have in every single thing we do, that this is the akhirah add-on. That's what makes the thing really beneficial. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us whatever we're doing. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.